Okay, Ward Green here. 16:14 hours, August 10th, 2021. So this is I think it's my wrap up, my final video in the 3-day fast series of videos, and I'm doing this video for a wrap up and for an introduction to the series of the 3-day fast. Excuse me, I just ate 1,200 calories roughly, I calculate, and my body's definitely back to normal, but it's better than it was. It's better than it was in many ways. In fact, my eyes in the morning, they look like they're significantly better than they were. My left eye, the damaged one, particularly, and that was true yesterday, and it's true today. However, after working on the computer, this eye, it gets bad again. But it didn't used to do that. It used to be the other way around. At the start of the day, I couldn't see at all, and then I managed to it got a little better, or I got used to it during the day or something. But right now, I have an amazing ability to stare at the screen without floaters if I'm not moving my head around. But anyway, and that just wasn't the case after the injury. So there's a significant eye improvement due to the following sequence that you're going to be watching. But it's not the only improvement. But this morning I want to mention something that happened. This is now the beginning of the fast. Was the 3-day fast started on the 4th, 16. So it's now the 10th. So 6 days after that. So 3 days after I broke the fast. And yesterday and today I noticed in my bowel movement something very important. This dark colored hard material that is separate from the rest, which is more clear, because I'm taking a lot of magnesium right now still, because my bowels were not they're right back to the way they were, where I have to take a lot of magnesium, which I didn't have to do during the fast, by the way. You'll see that during the videos, during the clips. But I'm not planning any of these clips. They're just spontaneous, and that was true of the 2020 September 14th review of the studio upgrade. I wasn't planning that sequence. Those clips were not planned. They were just shot. There was spontaneous and continuous shooting, except the camera failed in different places, or I stopped it inadvertently, whichever the case may have been, but not on purpose. And there was one clip that was added as a supplement. That was because it was accidentally left out of the sequence in that supplement for September 14th, 2020. So it belonged in the sequence, but of course there was a 70-minute clip or movie, so that clip was better to be a supplement anyway, because a 70-minute clip is a long clip. It's a long movie. But it was not done on purpose. And I want to also mention, I don't plan these things. In general, I don't. Now, I want to plan this one a little bit, because I want to talk about, I'm doing an intro, so I'm trying to sum up. And I want to do what was I going to say? I don't know if I'm going to do a video on technology or not yet. But if I do that one, I will. My planning will consist in my research, but I don't rehearse. I don't write things down or rehearse. Generally, I haven't in the past for any of my clips or movies. So all of them are spontaneous, just so you know. And I'm not trying to deceive, or I don't wear different clothing than what I normally wear in order to fool somebody, or in order to present a different, persona than what I am. So the watermelon ahead is pretty good, but I think it's causing a little bit of burping. I noticed when I burped, I want to mention, I probably mentioned it already maybe, or maybe I didn't mention it in a clip. When I burped during the fast, it was the best thing ever, because you can't burp up any food because you're not eating. So the burping is much more pleasant when you're fasting, if you burp, it's not, you're not worried about, well, I'm vomiting in my mouth or something like that, or whatever happens when you burp. Not that I'm doing that now either, but I mean, I'm just, if anything, there's watermelon, which is not going to be something bad to burp up anyway, just water. But I'm not burping anything up. I think it's just gas. But before the fast, I would burp up, and it'd be like I was burping something up, and it had a bad taste, and all sorts of other signs of ill health occur because of the consumption of food, which don't occur during a fast. And after this fast, I'm noticing I've had some bowel movements which have got this hard, dark material in it that's not of the same consistency. The other material was even just liquid, or just disappeared or went to the bottom. I don't know what it was. It was totally different. This was floating on the surface, and it was hard material, and it was different shapes, and it couldn't have been from what I ate. It's because I know everything I ate, because this is the only time I've ever kept track of everything I eat is after this fast. I'm keeping track of calories to the best of my ability, and I'm keeping track definitely of what I'm eating, and it could not have been caused by what I ate. So I believe, at least so far, I don't believe it could be. I can't see how, because it was the wrong color, the wrong hardness. So I believe it was compacted material that was stuck to the sides of my intestines. And because the small intestine is the one that Lauren Lockman says is where this material accumulates, and it's because it's such a long, winding path that this material can't get pushed through. And I can understand, I can believe that. But of course, it could come from the large intestine too. I mean, it's possible, but the large intestine is so much shorter than the small intestine, which is like 9 feet long or something. So if this material is on the sides of the small intestine, and you eat something, and the constant eating of food is driving the food through, but it goes down the center of the channel, and if it doesn't push this material along, then this material is going to get pushed to the sides and compacted by this passage of the food down the middle. It's going to keep pushing out, and that's causing a buildup of material on the lining of your intestines, which prevents you from absorbing nutrients to some extent. It can't be good. I mean, your immune system, you'd think, would be trying to attack, or there'd be something that could go wrong with this, but there could be fermentation or all sorts of problems, processes which are not normal in the body, which could be problems. I just don't think that's we don't want to have unclean innards in our bodies. We don't want our intestines to be clogged. So, and according to Lauren Lockman, he's the one who says that he thinks it causes dehydration. Now some people have much more of this material, I understand, than I have seen in myself. But I've seen maybe 4 significant sized pieces, and maybe a little more. But it's something that if I do a longer fast, longer than 3 days, I might see more of this material. But hopefully, and he says you can't get rid of it unless you go for 21 days or longer, fasting, extended fast, water only fast. So if I don't do, but in my case, I may not have had enough build up in there for me to have to go that long to get that material out. It's possible. I just couldn't explain it, but I wouldn't have had an explanation for it at all. In the past, I would have always thought, well, that's just something I ate, But in this case, I'm going to say, wait a minute. What Lauren Lockman said, if I've ever seen this happen before, it's probably for the same reason, that I had material that was in there building up. Then that material comes out later, and it doesn't look like anything you ate in terms of color. The color of my bowel movement right now, or yesterday anyway, it had returned to a darker color, not quite as something you wouldn't call yellow anymore. So it was dark green, I guess you'd call it, or darker green. But it wasn't the darkest green, but it was darker than yellow. So, and it wasn't lime green; it was olive, or darker, a darker color than olive green, something like that, forest green maybe. But the significance of that should be watched closely, I believe. And so these clips, now I've had my fast. I want to get back to fasting as soon as I can, as soon as I feel like it's time, like I can do it. And my weight, I want to mention my weight returned upwards. I gained 2 pounds like yesterday all of a sudden, trying to fast on 300 and some calories over a 24-hour period. That night I weighed myself and I had gained 2 pounds. Now mind you, that I probably weighed myself after I ate a bunch of watermelon, and I had some milk and I think I weighed myself after all of this, and I had the chocolate covered almonds. So I ate all of this stuff, but that was only like 100 grams or something of chocolate covered almonds. It's not, I mean, it wasn't much. It was a lot. I'm not saying you should eat that much. I'm just saying it was a lot. It wasn't enough. A pound is 454 grams, so it wasn't anywhere close to a pound. Whether I ate a pound of watermelon, I might have. Yeah, I could have easily eaten a pound or two of watermelon. I ate a big chunk of watermelon, so that could have been where the 2 pounds came from in the weight gain. I don't know, but I don't know but my stomach definitely looked better. I could see myself in the big bathroom. The problem is I have back fat on my back. It's on the love handles and at the back. There's fat there that I honestly believe that's not going to go away, even if I fast for, well, I mean, I'll lose everything else first before that maybe. So, I mean, I might have to fast for 100 days to get rid of that, and then I don't think that then when I refeed, I might get that fat back again before I get anything else back. So I don't really think that's something to rush into as a weight loss method, is fasting. I think it's more for health. I want to be absolutely clear about that. And I think that there are many sick people who could benefit enormously from fasting, but they should have an expert to guide them, or somebody who's done it, who's guided people many times before, preferably. And they should do their own research too. If they have the strength to do it, they need to do research as much as possible to understand the process of what they're trying to do. But you will potentially create new brain cells like I did. I could feel it. And it's really a miracle, that is. And I want to call this, I don't know what to call this when I write an article for the update to my health, my nutrition article. I don't know how to update that, my nutrition page. I don't know what to call it, whether I should call it solution or miracle or what, because it really is a kind of a miracle to get back. I mean, I don't know if it's 1,000% better or what. No, I feel enormously better, but some of it is spiritual from, having recently published some material and felt, some feedback and felt better about myself by having published this. So I'm not sure that all of it can be scientific, improvement, but the purpose of this wasn't science. And that's another thing I think that whoever wants to fast should think about. It's not about science here. We're not doing a science experiment. It's about health, and it's about really, that's all it's about. So knowing that, you might want to keep track of what you're eating after the fast. You might want to do it slowly, keep track of when you do things, make a timetable of when you're going to start refeeding, and refeed slowly. It's taken me 3 days to really refeed here, to be where I can just eat anything and not. But mind you, was I really doing that before? No, I wasn't doing this before, because I couldn't do it because I wasn't healthy enough. Before the fast, I was eating dribs and drabs all day long. I was eating significant amounts, but more than one meal a day, and I wasn't eating all day long. I don't mean, it was more like twice a day, but it felt like, compared to fasting, it feels like all day long. Because when you're fasting, there's no dishes to clean, there's no teeth to brush, you're rinsing your mouth with water all the time and salt, a little bit of salt, and you're having a marvelous respite, and you even can have a lot of energy. You can even go do workouts, which I did while you're fasting, if you feel able to do it. but caution is always advised. But I just think whoever is really sick, I want to put this right in the introduction, that cancer can be starved, because cancer needs a lot of nutrients. So if you fast and there's cancer that's early stage cancer, and maybe even late stage cancer, I'm not sure. But I don't think that everybody's going to be of one opinion on this, but cancer can be killed, completely killed by fasting. Also, cancers, even if you don't believe that, there are other let's say we don't have to accept that. There's other ways to kill cancer, but I wouldn't think that there's any better way than that. But diabetes is a precursor to heart disease, as Dr. Jamnadas mentions in his very, very significant video, which I think it was a year ago on YouTube. But I just found it just before my fast. It's called Fasting for Survival. And that video on YouTube is the best thing I've ever seen on the subject of fasting. And he explains, he's a cardiologist for nearly 30 years. He's been treating patients, and he's arrived at many new facets of knowledge, and many of them have to do with fasting. And he says that diabetes is a precursor to heart disease, and that they can all be reversed. All of that can be reversed. And well, we know cancer too, but cancer can be reversed too. But it's because, and it's not just him. There's Dr. Jason Fung in Canada. There's Lauren. Dr. Jason Fung is a nephrologist. He's a doctor, just like Dr. Pradip Jamnadas. So they're two people who are both very convinced about fasting. And there, of course, there are many, too many people to mention. But also, I mean, all of them, all of whom I don't even know. I haven't even researched it to find the other people. But except for there's Lauren Lochner. No, he's not a doctor, but he's an experienced fasting instructor, and he's 59 years old. But I'm not as convinced about him because he doesn't look younger than other people. At the age of 59, except for his body maybe, but he's got gray hair. Like I'm getting gray in my beard, but he's got more gray than I have. He's got gray hair on his head and all sorts of things, all sorts of places. To me, he looks older than he should be at 59. So I'm not really convinced by his. But his diet doesn't include meat. I don't think that's. I don't think vegetarians are. I don't agree with it at the moment because we need calcium. So that should be in the intro too. Well, we don't eat during the fast, but I believe we need calcium, and he will never eat calcium. He will never eat a dairy product. So he's in the vegetarian camp, which many fasters are. But I'm not interested in those at the moment. But so I eat meat up to the fast. I eat meat after the fast. I eat, right now, bacon. I'll be coming out with a recipe, hopefully, for bacon and lettuce and tomato sandwiches. You only need one piece of bacon to make the sandwich, so I don't know why you should worry about the bacon. But you can use more bacon, though, if you, if your body tells you that it's okay. But you don't eat during the fast is the idea. It's a water fast, water only fast we're talking about, no food. So finally, the other thing was, who was the other person? The other thing was there's somebody else I think that I'm forgetting who's on this. Well, there are other doctors. I've probably seen a few that I don't wish to mention, who are very interested and who have helped people to fast. They're very interested in the fasting lifestyle. Oh yes, there was someone else. Yes, don't remember his name offhand. And he was neither a doctor. He was very, what's the word? Well researched. He had a lot of knowledge, but I wasn't convinced that he had the right knowledge necessarily. There are different ways of using ketosis, which is the process that occurs. The brain can feed itself with something other than carbohydrates. Glucose rather, which is a carbohydrate. But the brain can feed itself with those. What are they called? It's using ketosis, whatever the products of ketosis are called, whatever they're called. They're fats, they're keto fats, or whatever you want to call them. The ketosis substances, they're acids, I think, actually. Because I remember Dr. Jamnadas mentioned what the two of them were, that are the main ones that the body uses. But the brain can feed itself using these substances that are not glucose, and it does it in what's called ketosis, which begins after about 18 hours of fasting, and starts to slowly increase, and reaches, after 3 days, it's reaching significant amounts. I think the body's total consumption from fats, or from ketosis, after 7 days. Is it 7 days? Yeah, I think it's 7 days. But these numbers are going to change for different people. But after 7 days, maybe 70% of all the calories burned are from ketosis rather than from the body. Well, it's going to be from the body's fat. It's going to be from the body's fat. The ketosis is from the body's fat. You're burning fats. And that's why some people think that high-fat diets are good for you and so on. I happen to, right now, I don't think that's the purpose of this discussion, so I'm not going to go into that. But I do believe in saturated fat being healthy. I do believe that. I feel like I know that. And that's what all these experts who've researched it. Dr. Jamnadas is the most expert I've ever seen. But Dr. Fung is, maybe he's even more, but I haven't been studying him. But from what Dr. Jamnadas says, that high protein does cause cancer, though. That's one thing. Beware of it. But protein is very healthy if you eat it in the right amounts. Saturated fat is a very healthy form of fat, not what they wrongly told us so many years ago when everybody switched to carbs, and now they're going back against that, of course, in the violent kind of swings that happen in the mainstream. Now everybody's against carbs, but originally there was a big, in another video called "The Fat Lies," Dr. Jamnadas talked about that before his lecture on survival or fasting for survival, and so that was. I lost my thought because the monitor was going off on me. He talks about a lot of things in The Fat Lies, but talks about fats, of course, but he's talking about how, well, insulin is very important. I'm not going to be able to cover it all, but insulin is absolutely crucial to this whole process. The body, I need to go back and look at this video so I can find out what I was saying. Yes, it was the in the lecture "The Fat Lies" that Dr. Jamnadas mentioned the origin of the myth regarding why fat was supposedly bad, but it's not. And he goes into that in his video, and I mention it too in my clips. So you have a lot to look forward to in this series of clips. It's going to be over 5 hours. I know that. I don't know how much longer than that because I stopped counting after 5 hours. There are 5 hours of clips there, but I'm going to have to put it, I will chop it up and put it into smaller chunks. So this is Word Green, August 10th, 1639 hours in the year 2021. Enjoy. I have less than 4 hours before I'm going to break my 3-day fast right now. So it's actually a 4-day, it's a 1-day fast, April 3rd, followed by one meal at 10:50 a.m. August. Did I say April? August 3rd. They both start with the letter A. That's about the only similarity. August 3rd, I started a 1-day fast, and I broke the fast at 10:50, August 4th by eating one meal of less than 600, much less than 600 calories, I believe it was. But so now but it was definitely less than 600 calories. I've worked that out. I think I'll post that sometime soon. I'm wanting to do that, to post that, and I want to post a new recipe and some things. The recipe's doesn't have anything to do with the fast, but the other thing is I started a 3-day fast after that one meal, after the 1-day fast. And so the 3-day fast is about to end in 4 hours from now. So I'm currently researching all the ways you should break a 3-day fast, the proper way to do it. And potatoes are not allowed, I understand. Fish is possible. So I've made some fish cakes with potatoes. I can't eat those because I don't want potatoes initially. But I'll be eating those, tomorrow, I think, probably. I've got some blueberries. I'll probably eat those today. Some of them, anyway. But I'm not going to break the fast with that. I think I'll break it with apple cider vinegar initially, diluted with water. Why can't I say diluted? I mean, I think the problem with people who stutter very often is because the word they're trying to say is not the correct word for the meaning that they wish to convey without hurting people. If you're trying to speak a word that could hurt people, that it really could hurt people because it's the wrong word, then it's harder to get that word out of your mouth, without hesitating or stuttering. If you stutter, that tells people, well, he's not sure of this word, so that makes it possible to then speak the word after stuttering, because people will know that they shouldn't just listen to that speech, without understanding that there's a caveat involved. So anyway, but you have to dilute the apple cider vinegar with water, before you drink it. But that's the way you break your fast initially, and then you wait a while and see what happens. But this is only for a 3-day fast. You don't have to do that for a 1-day fast, but I ate fish cakes with potatoes, part of what I ate after the 1-day fast. I also had, after the 1-day fast, I had pineapple and yogurt, plain yogurt. I'm thinking of using plain yogurt as a way to break my fast, but then I read somewhere not to use milk products. So I might introduce that. I think I will introduce that later in the day, today. But no, I can't, because the problem is I only want to eat one meal. But I don't think I'm going to be able to eat only one meal today. I've got watermelon too. I don't think I want to only eat one meal today. That's the problem. But I've got lots of different food, don't I? I'm trying to think what else food. I've forgotten what other foods I have in the fridge. Olives. I want to eat olives. That'll be the second food that I eat after the apple cider vinegar is the olives. So, yeah. Anyway, this is just a short video. I'm still in bed right now, but it's about 7 in the morning. I'm going to break the fast at about 11 o'clock or so. And it's the first time I've ever done a 3-day fast, or it's a 1-day plus a 3-day fast in rapid succession, with one meal in between, a very small meal. So definitely the first time I've ever had any kind of fasting of that sort that I've ever done. So, and I want to say I did do 3 hours of exercise in the last 3 days. I had 3 consecutive days, not yesterday, but the 3 days. So not during my 3rd day of fasting, but on the 1st and 2nd day of fasting, and the day before, which was the 1-day fast. Each of those days I did 1 hour of bicycle riding. 1 hour of the first 2 days were not as strenuous. I didn't work as hard. But the last day I did 13 laps, 4-minute laps of a certain streets loop in my town. And there's some uphill and downhill, slight uphill, and it was very strenuous the last day because I was fasting for 2 days at that point, and I was able to work really hard and exercise really hard. So I'm not lying in bed all the time fasting. I'm just, the last day I needed time to recover from the second day of the hard workout yesterday. And today I feel almost as tired as yesterday right now. I don't feel very energetic. My body, my muscles, I don't think the muscles can recover as quickly from a fast without certain resources, whatever those resources may be. There's no pain in the muscles. There's no soreness. There's no stiffness at all. Nothing. It's just they're just tired. I'm just tired. I mean, very slight. You know, the pain is so slight, or the soreness is so slight that you can't call it soreness. It's just very, very slight. So I was amazed at how it was the first day I could work out. I wasn't able to work out when I was eating. I knew that if I worked out when I was eating, I guess I knew I'd hurt myself or something. So I could only do the workout when I've been fasting for 2 days. So obviously, this fast is extremely cleansing and beneficial for my body. And I wasn't afraid of working out. I knew I could, and it was hot. It was hot too that day. You know, I wasn't doing it in the sun. I did it near dusk. I did it an hour before dusk. So, but it was warm. Like, it was really, I came into the house, I almost froze to death when I came back into a 70-degree house. I thought I was going to freeze to death. And by the way, the only reason I keep my house at 70, which is cold for me, it's hypothermic. The only reason I keep my house at 70 is because my computers will not live long, you know, at higher temperatures. They won't live as long. I don't want to kill my computers just because that's the reason for the low temperature in the house. But plus, of course, higher temperatures will allow mold to develop in the walls because there's more moisture in warmer air. So, of course, if there's no cold, it's mainly in the winter that you get mold in the walls because the moisture hits the cold air in the walls and it condenses. But I just don't think that warmer temperatures, or I guess if you have your house at warmer temperatures in the fall, then when the winter comes, that moisture may condense in the walls. When it gets colder, it shouldn't, because if it's a gradual change, but any sudden change in temperature can condense water in the walls. So you don't really want, we obviously don't want mold, so you don't really want to have warm temperatures in the house. That's my understanding of that. It's just warm temperatures are bad for mold. They allow mold to develop. Indoors, you're not going to get mold outdoors where you've got sunlight to kill the mold, so it's going to be an indoor problem, or you know, anything where we know, well, you know from experience, when there's no air, no fresh air, mold grows too. Like when you have a jar in the fridge that's sealed up, and inside the jar you get mold. There's no fresh air to prevent the mold from forming. Or bread in a bag gets mold because there's no fresh air. You know, bread would dry out, but it wouldn't go moldy if there's no fresh air, unless it's really wet bread. So, but I mean, rye bread doesn't even go moldy at all. That's another thing I've learned. Dark rye doesn't get moldy. Ever. I don't think, I've never seen it happen. So, this video could go on forever if I'm not stopping myself. The thing is, there's a lot of things I could talk about. I just think the purpose of this video was to document the fast, and before this thing quits on me or something, I run out of memory, I'm going to stop. So I'll be updating hopefully later. This is my iPad camera, which is not as good in the dark, I guess, as my iPhone. But it should serve the purpose, hopefully. So, bye for now. Okay, so it's August 7th. Yes, and it's 07:58 in the morning. So it's now 3 hours remaining until I break my 3-day fast. A 3-day fast that was preceded by a 1-day fast. And then, after the 1-day fast, I had a very small meal, less than 600 calories, followed by a 3-day fast, which is now coming to a conclusion. I do feel hungry, and I do feel like well, I'm tired, but that may be because I worked out yesterday. The day before yesterday, I also had a small workout yesterday. I rode my bike to the store and back, which was not a very big workout, but it was definitely a workout. But the day before, I had a 1-hour workout preceded by 2 other 1-hour workouts on the 2 preceding days as well. So every day that I fasted, I worked out, except for yesterday. And I'm still tired today. It's not that I'm tired. Okay, I mean, I'm not really tired. My energy level's not too bad, but my muscles are tired, so that affects overall energy, or it feels like, less energy. But I'm not really low in energy. I know what that feels like. I'm not like that. But anyway, I just wanted to touch base again on and I'm now up. I've had probably, I got up at around 4 or 5 in the morning, so I woke up, but I didn't get up till just now, a few minutes ago, or a little while ago, so around 7-ish. What time is it now? 8. Well, it was after 7 when I got up. 7:47 is the time that I remember. What happened there? It flickered. The video is flickering. Strange. The display is flickering on the camera. Yeah, I have this camera that it tends to shut the video off. My iPhone, it does something abnormal. I think it's abnormal. But it may also do it because I touch it accidentally. But now it's doing this flickering. But I don't think that all users have the same experience with video recording anyway. So I'm not really going to be, and I'm not concerned about the fact that it shuts off. It doesn't always shut off, and I can always re-record the video and probably do it better the second time, so I'm not going to worry about it shutting off. But, a lot of people would be so concerned. I would have been concerned years ago before I learned, that these things are always regulated by Jehovah, ultimately. So they're not for your, they're not to your disadvantage. Everything happens for the advantage of the believers. And unbelievers, you can't convince them of anything, no matter what. So it doesn't matter what you tell them; they'll still want more proof, and they'll want the next step of the next stage of proof. They want the next thing, and they're not willing to do any work themselves, but they want to be told, which is, I guess, a good thing that they want to learn. But they're not. You can't spend your time teaching the unbelievers, because in the end you'll become one of them if you do that. So the best way, because they're always doubting everything, so you can't teach an unbeliever anything. You just have to go and try and find the believers. And you can't force people to believe. You just can't do it. Belief takes work, I just thought of an acronym: deficient in God. Dig. In other words, you have to dig in order to get faith. You have to dig and really, you have to look into it. You have to look to find. Search. Seek and you will find Jesus Christ. Anyway, I want to get back to my research and whatever I'm doing, I'm listening to the videos about fasting still, and I want to learn more about this because Dr. Pradip Jamnadas and Dr. Jason Fung in Canada, but Dr. Jamnadas in Florida they're probably the two experts in the world on fasting. And Dr. Jamnadas intrigues me very much in terms of the learning that I'm starting to get from him about how insulin works. And it's just amazing to me. So much more I need to learn. The natural insulin of the body it can be very dangerous to the body because it prevents weight loss. If you have too much insulin, the only way you can burn fat is if your insulin is low. So, but anyway, I'm going to get back. I don't know enough to give a lecture like he can give, but not on that subject certainly. But my overall interest is in the fact that fasting is the cure for everything, virtually everything. I mean, including cancer. Because cancer needs a lot of nutrients. It eats a lot of nutrients, cancer. So therefore, that's why cancer is so harmful to you too, because it takes your nutrients away from the other cells. But because cancer needs nutrients, the only logical way to kill it is to starve your body. But your body will have plenty of food if you starve, but the cancer will die. So your body can feed itself using fat reserves and whatever's stored in the liver and all these kinds of things in the proper order in which it is burned. Your body can indefinitely support itself with water, so until the fat runs out, that is. So that's not forever, but for a long time. So, but the thing is, and it's not that you're not only not going to get sick when you're fasting, although some people maybe, but you're not only not going to get sick when you're fasting, you're going to get healthy when you're fasting. That's the fact. That's the real truth. Nobody knows that. Virtually no one. So anyway, I'm going to stop now. So it's 0846, August 7th, 2021, and we're just coming up to the 2 hour. Because the 2 hours before, it's now 2 hours left until there are 2 hours remaining until I will end my fast. But when I end my fast, I have to be careful about what I eat, as I mentioned in my earlier video. Hopefully we've got that video. The other thing is, it was done on my iPad, that one, in the dark. And the other thing is, I just wanted to mention that what I've learned from Dr. Pradip Jamnadas and also from Jason Fung, the Canadian nephrologist, kidney doctor, whereas Dr. Pradip Jamnadas is a cardiologist, by the way. What I learned from them is that the brain can not, contrary to what most people believe, does not require to be fed with only glucose, okay? The brain can actually feed itself with ketones. So ketosis is a process that is useful during fasting to provide the brain with what it needs, and the brain likes to be fed with ketones. It doesn't have any problem with that. So during fasting, the ketones rise after about 18 hours of fasting, and it continues to rise, and it reaches up to 70%. I forget what it's 70% of. 70% of all the nutrients, or 70% of, for what purpose, I'm not sure, but up to 70% of something it reaches after 7-day fast. So that was Dr. Jamnadas who mentioned that. So there's something important about the length of the fast. It determines how much ketosis is occurring. But the fat burning, I've understood, also doesn't really start until several days into the fast, or it may not start. You will burn some fat, I guess, but depending on your current body condition, I think too. In my case, it's abdominal fat. I've got about how many? 20 or 25 pounds of abdominal fat that I need to get rid of if I'm going to get back to my original weight. Unless I gain muscle, in which case my original weight will be higher. It should be raised up a little bit if I want to add muscle. But the other thing is you don't lose muscle when you're fasting, which is one of the myths that people have put forth, that when you're fasting you lose muscle. So that's one of the myths that prevents people from fasting. Anything that strikes fear into your mind and heart is going to probably cause you not to fast. So what am I at now? We're exactly now 2 hours. So 2 hours before I break my fast, I might use. I don't. You never know what you're going to do on the spur of the moment. You might change your mind. But I'm thinking of apple cider vinegar to break the fast, and olives sometime after that. But then I want to have I've got watermelon and blueberries. I think the watermelon's for later, but and the dairy products are for later. But maybe even later today I'll have some dairy products. I might want to take vitamin B. Something is wrong with my body right now. I'm weak. I'm not strong right now. So I feel weak. Not in any pain or anything, but I'm almost dizzy. In which case they suggest a bone broth or something. I think. Dr. Jamnadas suggested a bone broth if you need to eat something. I'm not sure if he said to do that when you were faint, but I think that was what he said to do when you faint. Bone broth is high in fats or something like that, but it's not high in. It's not a fat. You're not eating fat. It's very light, but it's high in fats compared to other nutrients, I think. So but I don't. You have to make your own bone broth, is what people suggest. It's better to make your own, and I don't have any meat bones to make it from, so I'm not going to be having bone broth in that way, but I could have got mushrooms, maybe made a mushroom broth or something. I think that might be good. I could still get mushrooms too, but I don't have bone broth to break my fast, and the other way to do it is apple cider vinegar. So that's the way I'm going to do it. But, I mean, I feel like I'm faint right now, so I feel like I should be. I'm going to drink some more water and see if that helps. Lightly salted water. I need something. I'm not dizzy like I was when I took B12, and after I got dizzy and found that the dizziness went away. I'm not dizzy like I was then. It's not. I'm just a little bit faint, and I'm definitely weak. When I'm walking around, I'm weak. That wasn't true yesterday at all, really. I mean, except, yesterday it was. Before I went out, though, I went out riding. I wasn't weak then. But the day before, when I worked out, I rode my bike so hard for an hour. I had no weakness until after that. After that, I was pretty weak. But there's so many things I want to look into, like collagen and creatine and potassium as supplements. And creatine, I think, is the amino acid-like substance that people, weight builders, bodybuilders, weight trainers, weight lifters, people like that, use to build muscle. And I don't know if that would help me here, but any amino acid would probably help me right now because I'm weak. And an amino acid is what helps you build protein and helps it. It's going to make my muscles are weak, so I think maybe creatine would be great right now. I think some people say that creatine doesn't break a fast either, it doesn't stop ketosis. That's the point. It does break the fast, but it doesn't stop ketosis. So there's a lot to learn about ketosis and fasting and weight loss through fat burning. And generally, though, the big point to learn is that stopping eating is natural, it's healthy, it doesn't usually cause any problems. Not everybody should do it. I think that's probably true. And it's just true, like the other thing is a reduced caloric diet where you eat the same number of meals per day but just less calories, fewer calories, does not work in that way for most people, but it has a very small percentage of people for whom it works, like less than 1%. So in general it works. I learned that from Jason Fung just now, that it's lower than 1% success rate for reduced calorie diets. So you should consider that before you try that reduced calorie diet. It's very likely won't work. So don't be surprised if it doesn't work. And then, but the easy, it's not easy necessarily to fast. For most people, at first it's not easy, but it's easy enough. It doesn't cost any money either. That's why nobody's going to promote it. It doesn't make them any money to tell you to fast. You don't have to buy any food. You don't have to buy any medication. You don't need anything to fast, just water. You might have to buy water if you don't have any water you can drink. Yeah, there's really no money in it as far as what fasting does for the economy of the people who are promoting things. They can't make money from promoting fasting, and that's what Dr. Jamnadas says. I have nothing to sell you. Nothing. He's not selling anything. You can do it for free. So fasting is by far the best way because of that reason, primarily that it's simple. Whether it's easy, it's simple. It may not be easy. It's easy enough. I mean, it's easy also in the sense that you don't have to cook, you don't have to wash your dishes, you don't even have to brush your teeth. Probably, you may have to, you may want to, but you're not eating anything. Your teeth are not in any danger from that. I think the dental problem of decay in your teeth may be exacerbated because you're eating, not just because of the food in your mouth, but because the fact you're eating creates your body. It puts your body in a bad state where you can get cavities. So that's the other idea that I just thought of now in this new context of the body chemistry of the mouth, which I know permits the bacteria to form or to be fed and thrive, which then create the cavities in your teeth. If that chemistry in your mouth is obviously affected by what you eat, at least you would think it would be. But I think primarily it's not what you eat; it's how much you eat. But the other thing is, it is what you eat. When you eat, you have to eat the best foods, not the thing is that sugar is a processed food. I'll talk about this maybe in the next one. Sugar is deadly because it's not natural, and that's something that I was just learning too. So I'm gonna quit for now. Again, we'll pick this up later, hopefully. Okay, I just woke up. I was sleeping. Well, I went to sleep, and it's now, I feel much better, by the way, much better. So I think I could now fast for another number of days if I wanted to, because I don't feel nearly as bad as I felt. I think it was largely sleep deprivation. I don't feel hungry. I don't feel hungry, but my stomach is rumbling. The way not from hunger, but it rumbles when you take X-Lax. I wouldn't take X-Lax. You could take magnesium instead, but it still rumbles when you take magnesium. It makes that funny gurgling sound that means you have to go have a bowel movement, and it's very, very urgent when you hear this. It's much more urgent when you hear the gurgling sound in your stomach, or it can be urgent anyway. But the thing is, I don't have any material to have a bowel movement. There's nothing there, so that gurgling sound is very curious. I only took one magnesium since yesterday, I think I took it today. That one magnesium. I'm not sure when I took it now, but it was a citrate, which is 200. No, it's only 150. That's right. My 150 milligrams citrate. It could have been the, but I'm not sure which one it was. It could have been the 200 milligram magnesium, the bisglycinate. But anyway, I took one of the magnesium in the capsule. It's hard to tell the two apart, and I don't normally mix them up. I just mixed them up over 2 days ago when I took them out. I put them all together, and I didn't keep track of which was which. But anyway, I don't need to have a bowel movement because there's no food in me yet. So it's now officially, definitely 3 days. It's 12:01. Is that right? Yeah, 12:01. August. Okay, I'm back. It's now 12:06. 12:08. 12:08. August 7th, 2021. Ward Green. Having mixed my apple cider vinegar, 2 teaspoons of it, which is 10 mils, 5 mils per teaspoon. 10 mils to 40 mils of water with my water with the salt, slight bit of salt in it. So I mix it up. So it's a 4-to-1 mix. 4-to-1. By the way, I'm still weak, even though I think I probably could go. I said I could go more days because I felt really good when I woke up, but now that I've had a few minutes, I realize I'm still pretty weak. So it's a good thing that now is when I'm ending this fast, and we'll see how quickly I regain strength if I ever had it before. And you know, I'm sure I used to have. I'm sure I normally had more strength than this before the fast. You know, but I'm a little weak, but I'm also very excited right now about breaking my fast. Oh yeah, just sipping on it. I always drink from a bowl. I don't use a glass because you can't clean it. It's very difficult to clean unless you use a lot of water, which I think is wasteful. So, or you have to have a way to reach inside the glass to clean it. This is really amazingly good. I wouldn't have thought that apple cider vinegar would taste so good. Incredible. I can't wait to see what the different vitamins do to my body as I take them. I want to take vitamin B because I think that's what I'm possibly deficient in. Like maybe B1. I'm thinking I might be deficient in B1 right now. I just found out there's another form of B1 that you can take. I forget what the difference is between the different forms of B1. Whether it's more soluble or it penetrates better into the cells, or it's somehow better. It works better anyway, whatever the reason is. I can't remember the details. I got to find out about that again. I don't know where I read that, so I don't know if I'll be able to find that again exactly, but I'll find something. I'm sure I'll find it if I have enough time to look at it, you know. But I want to investigate collagen. I'm really just sipping this. I think collagen is potentially really good for the skin, and I haven't. And apparently it has no ill effects as a supplement. No real ill effects, but you have to be very careful with everything. I was very reluctant to start my supplement program, my regime that I'm on now. When I first started taking calcium, I was very reluctant. You always take magnesium as well as calcium when you start calcium, because you'd be constipated if you didn't. And you have to take vitamin D for the absorption of minerals that include calcium and magnesium. But especially, you know, if you're taking minerals, you have to take vitamin D. So I was taking fish oil. I took, I think, 18 fish oil a day. 18 of the little tiny gel caps per day that when I first started calcium and magnesium, and it was really, really working well. But that was way years ago. You know, that was probably near around the year 2000 approximately. I don't know when, but it was before or after. I think it was before. I think it was, my brain right now is telling me it was 1999. And I don't know how I know that, but that's what my brain is telling me. But the interesting thing is, they say that when you're on a fast, your brain is your thinking ability is very enhanced. And that's what seems to be well documented, or it's mentioned by everybody. So, whereas when you eat a lot, you can't think at all. That's what people say. So, you know, well, the blood goes to your stomach, right, instead of to your brain, I guess is the idea. But this is a revolutionary, the idea of ketosis, where the brain can actually feed itself, and it works better in ketosis. When the brain is using ketones rather than glucose, the brain works better. That's the theory, too. That's another part of this theory about why the brain works better when one fasts. So, I'm enjoying this. I want to sip it even slower. I mean, I don't think I'm going to have any ill reaction from it, but you want to be sure before you start eating. I'm only on a 3-day fast, but a 3-day fast is the first time that is called, you can't call it intermittent fasting anymore. You have to call it a long fast or an extended fast. This is like a long fast. So anything less than 3 days would be considered intermittent fasting, like 2 days or 1 day or 18 hours or whatever. It's just vinegar, with a bit of extra flavor from the apples, but it's so good, it tastes so good. This is my first ever 3-day fast, okay? So I've never had a fast of this length in my life. 64 years old. Born 1957, January 10th. This just tastes, it not only tastes good though, it also has a very, what's that thing that vinegar has? Acidity, I guess. It bites into your throat, it's acrid or whatever that flavor is. It's very strong flavor that, I suppose it's the acidity, but it's a very mild acid compared to most acids, compared to the stomach acid. It's not a strong enough acid to do, any kind of, plus I've diluted it even more. You can't use it to, like some acids used to do etching, so on. Acetic acid wouldn't be in that category. It's one of the more mild of the acids. Oh my goodness. It tastes good, but I'm not tempted to drink it fast. Or quickly, I should say. The word fast has different meanings. I'm not tempted to drink it quickly, probably because my body doesn't want it right now. You know, it doesn't really want too much. When you've been fasting, the problem with the refeeding part is after your fast, you have to refeed. You have to get your bowels or your intestines working again after they've been cleansed. I mean, they've been, you know, flushed out, or they've been given a rest or whatever. And I'm not sure. I know that Dr. Jamnadas talks about this. The cells have to rebuild their mitochondria, and the old mitochondria have been already taken away and destroyed because they weren't needed. But the new mitochondria has to be rebuilt, and it's going to be I'm going to have new cells, you know, a lot of new elements in the cells, which is going to make me feel possibly younger, you know, because it's got new material. So it's potentially a renewal. I still don't know, you know, if I'm going to survive. It's like you feel like I almost had a thought there, you know. It's when you're fasting, you have these thoughts that are, well, I feel pretty good. Maybe I never have to eat. Those kind of thoughts, which are deadly. If you think that way, you're going to die, because if you never eat, you will die. So it's a little bit scary and confusing when you're fasting, and that's why you need to, you know, plan ahead when you do a fast. Make sure educate yourself, and make sure you're. I guess it's better to do it with somebody, so you don't ever do that. You know, you don't go too long. 40 days, I know. 40 days, I know, is a limit at some places that do facilitate fasting. Some institutes that help people fast for up to 40 days. Or at least one I know of that does that, but I'm sure there are others, and they need doctors on staff and so on, but there's a place. But I think that I know other people have done it on their own. There's one person who did it for 75 days, I think, on their own. I read on the internet. I'm sure there are people who've done it for extended periods of time on their own, for longer than 40 days, I'm sure, But I think it's better to work your way up to that and make sure you know what your body does at 3 days, first of all, before you try 5 days or 7 days or 14 days or whatever. But see, right now, I'm not looking ahead to a 14-day fast. I'm not thinking about that at all. I'm thinking about eating, or at least I'm thinking about getting my energy back, because I don't have any energy, so I'm not thinking about fasting right now. You know, and I'm praying that the fast will have good benefit and not any ill effect too. But well, I know it's had wonderful effect on my intestinal tract, because the bowel movement that comes out looks like baby poop. It looks exactly like baby poop. I think it smells like baby poop, but I don't have a baby to compare with. It looks like baby poop. It's yellow, like baby poop. So that means that all the bad, whatever, there's no food in my system, so I don't know what's coming out. So it's fascinating. Maybe it's just waste material that was in my body that needed to come out. But I don't know how many pounds I've lost now, but yesterday I noticed, I didn't weigh myself before, but I know what my weight was before was 142 uncalibrated, which is 139 probably on my scale. So 139, it went down to 136, so that's only 3 pounds. That was, I think, yesterday. I weighed myself. But I may have gained weight prior to the 136. I may have been up to 141 or something, because I could feel my belt was, I thought I was gaining weight. I could have been even higher. Could have been 142 or 143, and then I went down to 136. So that would be 7 pounds. But I don't know. I don't know the numbers because I didn't. I think it's it's not necessarily important to weigh yourself and do all the science, because it's water. A lot of water is lost. If you're not rehydrating enough, you're losing water, so it could just be a water loss. Might have nothing to do, and I was bicycling a lot. And I doubt that I drank much water after bicycling, really. I drank a good bit, but I don't know how much water I lost when I was bicycling. I know how much I didn't measure how much I drank, but I probably drank more than 8 ounces of water after I cycled. Maybe I drank 16 ounces that I would not have drunk otherwise because of the cycling. But but over time I drank it. So I didn't monitor that. So let's refresh this so I don't lose this video. I just stopped and restarted so I don't lose the video in case the camera malfunctions or something. Or whatever, the software can malfunction. These modern phone cameras are amazing. Even though they're not supposed to be as good as they aren't as good as a dedicated camera, which you can buy, that are digital, that are beautiful, really high quality compared to this. But really, this is still such a high quality. It's way far higher quality than the old cameras used to be. And it's in software. It's running on a software platform. It's unbelievable, the technology, how it's advanced. Really, I'm almost finished. So, that's done. I want to clean the bowl, I guess. Or maybe I'll use it again. I won't have to clean it. I'll clean it with my finger. Like that. It's good. But this is really interesting. I think I'm going to have some blueberries, but maybe not. What's the next thing to have? Blueberries, I think. Let's have some blueberries. Yeah. I got some organic blueberries. Pretty exciting. Organic blueberries, in the clamshell. Let's see. Oh, I'm glad I bought the organic ones. Not all blueberries are equal. Sometimes even the organic ones aren't as good as other times, but these organic blueberries are fantastic. Oh. Better slow down. Oh, yes. So good. Oh. I believe blueberries are good for helping your eyesight. These are really fresh. And they're so powerful, sweet, but powerful. Oh, they have every flavor that blueberries should have. Oh my goodness. Praise Jehovah. Father, I praise you. Remember when Jesus said, Father, I publicly praise you because you have concealed these things from wise men but revealed them to babes, you know. Wow, that's incredible. I'm sure that's the best of blueberries I've ever tasted because I haven't eaten for 3 days. But okay, let's look this up. Publicly, that's probably the only time publicly actually occurs in this translation. No, it's not. Not at all. It's Matthew 11:25. Father, or he didn't say Father. He said yes, he did. He said it in the other order. He said, according to the Matthew that I have here, the version I have, he says, I publicly praise you, Father. So he could have said, Father, I publicly praise you, but let's read it the way it is here. In the reference version of New World Translation, it says, I publicly praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and intellectual ones and have revealed them to babes. So I was pretty close, based on my memory of it. But that's what Jesus said, according to Matthew 11:25. So, if I eat all of this, how much other food will I need to eat, I wonder right now. Shouldn't eat too much. I don't think I'll eat all this. And I want to, though. Slowly eat. Over a period of time, I want to eat all these blueberries. I don't want to spike my blood sugar. Oh, let's get the lid. Dried fruits. They don't mention blueberries to break a fast. It says not to overeat. That's the other thing. I think I've had enough blueberries right now. I think that's because it's not even on the list of things to use. They say potatoes could be good when breaking a fast, but that's other people who said to avoid potatoes. But I've got fish cakes with tuna. I think I want to wait till tomorrow for those. I want to do my pineapple with, but of course it doesn't say I can do pineapple. It says dried fruits are used in Saudi Arabia, like dates. Soups, I might have some soup, like pea soup. That's what I think I want. The thing about apple cider vinegar too is the thing about apples is it increases the stomach acid, so it prepares the stomach for eating. So I think that's a good one to use. So maybe the blueberries are not as harmful because I've had the apple cider vinegar first. I'm trying to talk louder because I know the microphone is not close to my mouth here. It says if you tolerate the gentler foods add in the whole grains and other things like beans and nuts and seeds, you know, but don't overeat. So I want to have yogurt though with the pineapple, but what else did I plan on eating? I've got watermelon. I'm not going to eat the watermelon right away. I'm going to put these blueberries back. I've eaten about half, maybe less, but yeah, about half. Yeah, I think about a little less than half. And this is so I've eaten about a little less than 6 ounces. 6 ounces was the size of that container. Now, I've got bread. Yes, I'm gonna have rye bread. I'm gonna have the rye bread without any butter. So. Good. Rye bread without any butter. It's dark rye, the darkest rye. I would have gotten the even darker one, the pumpernickel. I would have got that probably if I could have found it at the store where I shop locally. Mm. Mm. Okay, I'll just shut off. I'm going to eat up as many as 2 pieces of this bread right now. Okay, it's now 12:38, but it's August 7th, of course, 2021, and it's 12:38, which is 2 minutes later after I finished the first piece of rye bread. So I have one more piece of bread I might eat, but I might wait a little while after the first piece. But so at 12:08 I broke my fast. So 28 minutes after that, I finished the first piece of dark rye bread. Excuse me. So it's only been half an hour into my refeeding. I feel fine. I don't feel any sudden surges in energy or anything. You know, nothing too much. I mean, it feels good to eat, but it doesn't. You know, it doesn't feel really earth-shaking, except for those blueberries. It's just and the apple cider vinegar, and the rye bread too tastes really good. They all taste phenomenal. Oh yeah, it's good. I'm pretty sure it's a whole grain too, because it has little, whatever they are, little lumps or little, what are they, kernels? It's not been ground up like flour, like white flour is. And white flour is, I've learned recently, white flour is really bad. According to Dr. Jamnadas, white flour, it changes, it has a totally different glycemic index, or it completely alters, it does completely different things in the body. It's just completely much more dangerous to eat than whole grains. No one's ever told me that before in such a scientifically based way. Like, he's got the science behind all these things. Dr. Jamnadas, he's from Florida, absolutely has a very good, firm, solid, just incredible, fully comprehensive scientific viewpoint. Although some of what he believes, I'm sure, undoubtedly will prove false in the future, but I just think for the most part he's very close to understanding these things as far as what fasting is like, how the body uses insulin, and I think Dr. Fung from Canada also is extremely knowledgeable. They're two real experts in this topic, and I've just been watching a video by Jason Fung, who says that these people who are diabetic, who are taking drugs, and the doctors keep giving insulin, and he was one of the doctors who was giving insulin, they never learned from the fact that giving insulin makes their patients more obese. Their diabetes becomes worse because of the insulin. They won't admit that. They just think their patients are getting worse. They won't admit it's because of the drugs, and they keep giving more drugs, and the patients get worse and worse, and it's a vicious cycle, and it leads to death. And not all doctors actually ever learn the correct approach, which is fasting. Fasting is the way to reverse diabetes. Diabetes leads to heart disease. Therefore, fasting reverses heart disease. Cancer is reversed with fasting because cancer requires enormous amounts of nutrients. It feeds on sugar. It feeds on many, many things. And it needs a lot of nutrients, so when you fast, your body won't suffer, but the cancer will die. So it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. There was the doctor who fed herself with vegetable juices. She was starving because she couldn't eat. She didn't know what to eat. I think she was starving, I believe, is the story, before she finally decided to use vegetable juices. But the starvation may have been what reversed her cancer, rather than the vegetable juices. I'm not sure. I'd have to review her story again, because now that I know about fasting, she didn't know about fasting, I don't think, as a cure for cancer. And I don't know if you can reverse a tumor cancer with fasting, but I'm sure that the mainstream would say no, you can't. Otherwise, they'd be doing it. But the mainstream is wrong about everything. So it's just, you have to be very careful. This eat a balanced diet. Yeah, if you eat nothing, that's a balanced diet, So, but the thing, they don't know that. Eat a balanced diet, but they don't mention about fasting in the mainstream. Almost never. Let's say, I think never, but let's say almost never. But that's tragic, because fasting is what allows you to burn fat. The only time you're going to burn fat is when you fast. If you don't fast, you'll never burn fat. Maybe that's not true, because I know some people do, but it's still, some people can lose weight on reduced caloric intake. But that's 1% or less of the people. So generally, you're only going to burn fat. And fructose is what becomes fat. Glucose is good, but because it gives you energy. In moderation, glucose will give you energy, but fructose will, I don't know, I guess high high glucose is bad because you could, have insulin shock, or I don't know what. You could have some, too much sugar can't be good, even if it's glucose, I think, but we're not studying that at the moment. But, we'll have to look into that too. But fructose is what cannot be digested by the body, therefore it goes to the liver and it always gets converted to fat. So fructose is the dangerous fat-producing sugar that is contained in white sugar or brown sugar. All refined sugars have sucrose, which is if it's sucrose, which all refined sugar is, I don't know about agave syrup. I think it's a lot of fructose. But sucrose has equal amounts of fructose and glucose, so it's half good. But the bad part is what you have to worry about. So you should not eat sugar at all because of the fructose, which will produce fat in your body. That's something I never knew at all. But I never needed to know it. That's the thing. You don't need to know it. You think you know enough. You think you know you should eat every day, 3 times a day, whatever. Some people eat 6 times a day. But that's bad because your body never recovers enough to reduce the glucose or blood sugar. And when you can't reduce the blood sugar, you can't enter the fat burning stage of the insulin. Has to be low, you see. Every rise in glucose in the blood or blood sugar raises the insulin, and insulin prevents fat burning. I've learned a lot, but there's still there's a lot more, and there's a lot more good stuff to learn, really, really powerful stuff to learn. And I know I've already heard it, I just can't remember it all right now. I don't know it as well as some of these other doctors. These are, what do you call, angel messengers of God, these doctors who have this message, because the good news is many diseases can be cured with fasting. And Bob Barefoot in the Calcium Factor did not mention that. So it's a whole new way of thinking to my mind. But I've done fasting before, but I never understood. When I did it, I didn't understand anything close to this, what I know now. So I'm going to take a break again. I'm going to possibly eat something more and get back to you. Okay, I just want to add, it's now 12:48, August 7th, 2021. I just want to add that my plan is to eat 1 meal today, not to eat 3 meals. I'm going to see if I can get a meal together with the supplement, take all my supplements, maybe a lot less magnesium because I don't want to overreact to the magnesium because I know my system is different now. But I better make sure I take enough magnesium to where I start to have a bowel movement before I stop the magnesium. But I'm going to try to put together a meal that is complete. So I'll be doing, that means I want to eat a fish cake, probably. Because I've got 3 of them in the fridge and they're not going to keep. I'll eat 1 each day. I think, and it's part of my balanced meal. The meal that I had, that's what I want to talk about. The meal I had on the day that I had a fast. Prior to my 3-day fast, I had 1 day fast with a meal afterward. That was right before the 3-day fast. 1 meal only. It was a small meal, 480 calories. I calculate, but it could have been a bit more or less, I guess. I had a 1/4 cup of 5% fat yogurt, 40 calories. A 1/4 cup of tuna, a can of tuna, 43 calories. A 1/4 of a potato, a fair-sized potato, 20 calories. 6 ounces of half and half cream, 221 calories. An ounce of maple syrup, 74 calories. That's what I ate. Also pineapple, 1 cup of pineapple, 82 calories. All those things is 480 I calculated. I hope that's right because the people can check my math now. But 82 and 40 is 122, and 43 is 165, and 20 is 185. 185 and 200 is 285. 285 and 21 is 306. 306 and 74 is 480, right? No. 380. So 122, 165, 185, and 221 is 406. 406 and 74 is 480. So it's right. It's correct. It's correct. Yep. It's correct. 480 calories. That's the meal I had 3 days ago. And it was good enough for 3 days. But I didn't take all my supplements, or did I? Wait a minute. I should have taken all my supplements then at that time, right? I may have taken all my supplements, but I didn't mention it in the diary, in the book. I know I took magnesium. I started at that point. I knew I would have taken my regular magnesium, but the next day I didn't take. The next day was just prior to the 2 final days of my current 3-day fast. That was one set of 2 grams of magnesium that I spaced out over those 2 days. So I was taking 2 grams of magnesium because of all the food I'm eating, and because of how bad my system is right just before this fast. My magnesium requirement was really high, just to facilitate a bowel movement. I'm not unhealthy, but apparently that means I'm unhealthy as far as that goes. But I'm not that unhealthy where I can't do physical exercise. But I didn't want to do physical workouts. I didn't feel well enough to do I didn't want to do aerobics, cardio. I didn't feel like I was good enough for that. On the second day of my fast, I was able to do cardio, not weight training. What I'm saying, fitness training, like wind sprints or high intensity interval training, to some degree on my bike when I was riding the loops of 4-minute loops on my bike around one of the blocks in this area. I was riding around the block, 4 minutes on average, and I did 13 loops of that loop. So that's that was during a 60-minute workout. Part of that adds up to 52 minutes. 4 minutes times 13. That's how long it took me roughly. But very close to that. So this is and that was the hardest workout I've done in many, many years. So that was during fasting. So the food was preventing me from working out. Definitely. I'm convinced I don't know all the details. It's such a complex thing, the human organism, that I don't know all the details of why. But it looks like right now the food was what was causing it. Eating too much food was causing it. So I'm not gonna, I don't think I'll have this other piece of bread. I think I'll put it back because I want to have my regular standard diet with the fish cake and the pineapple yogurt. The cream, by the way, and the maple syrup, that was matcha tea mixed. Matcha tea has 0 calories basically, so few that I didn't include the matcha. But matcha tea with the cream and with the maple syrup, that was the other element of this food that I was eating. So I want to eat some matcha tea and cream, I think. I don't know if my body will tolerate that, but so maybe I'll do that after. Oh, I'll do that after the yogurt. I'll start with, I think, yogurt. I may not have the fish cake because I know potato is not recommended by some people. So for refeeding, it's okay to eat potato normally. It's a good food, but it's not to be overdone because it's full of starch, which is glucose stacked in a chain, so it's a complex carbohydrate that's basically glucose that your body has to break down into glucose. At least that's what I've been learning, but it's just so much to learn. And I mean, my science background, my engineering background, my physics and engineering background definitely helped me to be a quick study. I can study and learn very quickly. Once I need to know, once I'm ready to learn, I can learn these things. I was going to say this stuff, but that's not the right word because we're talking about food, which is stuff that you stuff into yourself. But I can learn these things very quickly. Sometimes, Well, I can learn a lot of things quickly. Not everything, but I can learn a lot of things very quickly because of my scientific background. And I can often read. I can read through a giant. It can be a giant book, a huge book, and I can find the one thing in that book that's of interest. If I have if I just well, nowadays you can search it on the internet probably and find it. I don't have to read the whole book, but if I'm looking at a page of material, I can read it and ignore everything, except for what I'm interested in. And now I know I couldn't do that before, but I've learned to do that partly because of my scientific background. I think it really helps to have a scientific background, but it's anybody I'm sure can do it with practice, is learn how to focus. And the Bible is the best source of teaching for anything about wisdom and how to learn. Wisdom is about learning. So it's anything about learning is you read the Bible and it gives you the wisdom. It gives you how to learn, what to focus on. Because people who don't accept God, for example, the problem is they become egotistical because they become God. They become, if they can't accept God, they're not humble. They'll never be humble. So, because they don't accept God, they'll be humble as soon as they accept God. But also the fact that God is real makes it possible to adopt the theory that all things are created and that nothing comes from nothing. In our world, we don't see computers come out of nothing. They have to be created. So if you don't believe in God, you're not going to believe that computers were created either. You're not going to be willing to say, how were they created? You see, if you believe in creation by God, you're going to be willing to say, how was it done? When you're willing to say, how was it done, you can learn. So you can learn anything rapidly when you're asking how. If you want to know how. The why is what comes about when you don't believe in God. I think the question why comes up every time. Why? Because you don't know the motivation. And love is the motivation. God is love. So if you don't believe in God, you don't believe in love. So you're going to be asking why all the time instead of how or what or how much. That's a really good question. That's the best question maybe ever. This has to do with fasting. How much? That's a really good question. So okay, I'm going offline. That was one of the best videos I've made so far, I think.